So welcome back to the dumbest bill in America, and it is the budget bills in Annapolis. Why? Because Moody's just downgraded Maryland's debt and Maryland's credit rating for the first time since 1973, Brian. Thoughts on this? This is a huge deal.
My background's in mortgage lending. Did it for over 2 decades. And I always said this, and it's true throughout. Credit is king. If your credit is not good, people don't want to give you money because credit it's a look inside of your ability to pay back. And what has Moody's just said to us? After 50 years, we don't think you're a good bet. We don't think that Maryland is a good place to put your money. So we're going to now pay more. So we're going to pay basically a higher interest rate, if you will, to borrow money, to fix bridges, to fix roads. We already do a really piss poor job of doing those things. Now it's going to cost us more money to do these same piss poor jobs.
So podcast listeners, let me ask you, if you have $100,000 in the bank, right? And you were going to buy some bonds, and some of those bonds were Maryland bonds, right? That were issued on Wall Street. And you were looking to invest in those bonds to get a return on your investment. Would you trust Maryland at this point? Would you loan money to Maryland? Brian, would you loan money to Maryland?
And these are experts looking at this, right? And these are experts since 1973. Think about it yourself. Look, what if you went to a bank since 1973 and said, we'd like to borrow some money, we will pay you back. And the bank has dutifully done this since 1973. All of a sudden, they throw their hands up and say, wait a second.
So
we don't see you as a good risk anymore.
So, Brian, this session, Wes Moore and the Democrats, they increased taxes by $1.7 million or billion?
$1.7 billion.
So $1.7 billion tax increase, right? And in addition to that, they raised taxes like another $500 million the first couple of years.
That's right.
That Wes Moore was in office. And yet Moody's, the credit rating company, is still saying, we don't think you're going to have enough money to sustain your spending. Your spending in out years as well as the current year are just like out of control.
That's right. And they refused to cut spending. What they really did, because we had to make up a $3 billion deficit, they took $1 billion and said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to push this to the counties. So it doesn't matter where you live. You're still making up for that. That's not a cut. That's what they call a shift in Annapolis. We're going to shift the $1 billion to the counties. You're still going to pay it, but you're not going to pay it to the state anymore. Do you really give a crap who you're writing the check to?
No, you don't. Get this, podcast listeners. Governor Wes Moore of Maryland, right? He looks good. He speaks well. He looks professional. He acts professional. But the emperor has no clothes. This guy, there's nothing there, right? With respect to his policies and so forth. He's not paying attention to Maryland, Brian. He's just running for president. And this guy basically was told, the governor of Maryland was told well over a year and a half ago that because of the blueprint for Maryland's future, you know, the so-called education spending that the state does and other spending that's on autopilot, all of these things were unsustainable. And so they put Maryland on a credit watch. And what did the Democrats do? They spent like, who cares? They acted like, who cares how much we spend? We don't really care if they downgrade, because doesn't this mean that Maryland's going to be spending more on interest and so forth?
That's right. So now we've compounded the problem is what we've really done. They've doubled down on their mistakes. They said, we don't care. We're just going to spend more. We're going to shift some stuff around, but we're not really going to make any more cuts. Matter of fact, we're going to keep spending. And that's why Moody's has thrown their hands up and said, this is a bad idea. This is a bad state for us to put our money. The governor, and you mentioned it, he has traveled probably more than President Trump. He was in South Carolina. Then he was out. He was international.
Yeah. So he's trying to bring businesses into Maryland. So Maryland's existing business community can't wait to get the heck out of Maryland.
That's right.
So Governor Moore is like, well, I'm just going to go to Japan and these other places, South Korea, and try to bring businesses into Maryland because these suckers don't know any better. Right. And
what Moody's is essentially telling most of the businesses already in Maryland is, you might want to pack your bags.
Yeah, it might be time to go because, this governor. So, Brian, we're both members of the Freedom Caucus, by the way. Brian, if you had something to say to Governor Moore, what would you say to him right now, directly to the camera?
Please stop helping, one, Two, honestly, they
Don't
always
help,
say,
you're
we're
hurting.
going to help. And it just compounds the problem over and over again. Stop spending. You already look great. I promise you. I'll tell you that. Honestly, you don't need 3 photographers. Stop hiring people for the office. Take care of Maryland. If you really want to go to the next level, take care of the state that you've been elected to govern over right now, and stop worrying about South Carolina and primaries 2 years from now.
And that is the dumbest bill in America, which basically was passed by the dumbest and worst governor in America, and that is Governor Wes Moore. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Brian.
You got it.